I'm Stephen Posen.
And I'm Herb Cohen. And you're watching Kosher Movies.
Welton Academy for Boys, a breeding ground for the future leaders of America. An institution dedicated to achievement, virtue, and conformity. A school whose rigid standards are upheld by every single teacher, except one.
Come on, Mr. Overstreet, you twerp. Mr. Anderson, are you a man or an amoeba? Language was developed for one endeavor, and that is...
to communicate.
No! To woo women. Mr. Keating.
Some people like to rock, some people like to roll, but moving and a groove is gonna satisfy my soul. Let's have a party.
Touchstone Pictures presents Robin Williams as John Keating, teacher.
Well, is this a dagger I see before me?
Philosopher.
I like Byron. I give him a 42, but I can't dance to it.
Orator.
Oh, Titus, bring your friend hither.
And founder of the Dead Poets Society.
A bunch of guys sitting around reading poetry.
No. Ding. Thank you for playing anyway.
What was the Dead Poets Society?
The dead poets were dedicated to sucking the marrow out of life. Spirits soared, women swooned, and gods were created. Not a bad way to spend an evening, eh?
I hereby reconvene the Dead Poets Society.
To strive, to seek, to find.
Gotta do more, gotta be more.
Dare to walk a new path. Dare to strike out and find new ground.
That's a great scene from Dead Poets Society, one of my favorite films. As a teacher, I easily connected with Robin Williams, who plays John Keating, a charismatic teacher in a private school. And there's so many lessons about teaching that you can learn from that. In Proverbs, it tells us, train a child in the way that he should go, which means you have to recognize the individual person that you're teaching. You're teaching not material, you're teaching students. When you're teaching students, it's dynamic, it's live, it's energy, it's sharing your soul with another one. Frankly, that's what excites me as a teacher, because I feel I'm not just teaching material, I'm getting to know the students and helping them, enabling them to navigate life in a better way. One of the beautiful scenes in the film is when he tells the students to stand on the desk. Because when you stand on a desk, you have a different perspective on life. When you're in the soup, as it were, you see things from an ordinary perspective, but there's a value in seeing things from the balcony, seeing the big picture, and then you will view education differently. It's not a question of did I know this particular equation, did I know this particular poem? It's an all-encompassing. It changes your life. It's transformational. It's not just opening up the book. And at the beginning of the film, he tells the students, in fact, to tear up the textbook, because while the textbook is valuable, it's not an oracle. It's not divine wisdom. You can tear it. You can take some stuff out. So this introduces a whole new dimension to learning in that private school, and parents who pay a hefty tuition, once they find out about what he's doing, are not necessarily in sync with what he's doing, because they want their children to do what they did.
They want a conventional education.
Yeah, conventional education. And the tragedy that occurs, or I don't want to, in this program we do sometimes reveal spoilers, but there's a tragedy that occurs because a father really wants his son to be a certain, kind of person when he grows up. And when the son tells him, Dad, I want to be in a play of Shakespeare, I want to be in Midsummer Night's Dream, that's not what his father wants to hear. So if a parent is wise and astute, he understands that he has to modify his parenting approach. It's not using the same parenting toolbox with every child that he has. But if he is wise and a good parent, he'll understand that he has to modify his own desires, because that's a terrible mistake, and he has to allow the kid, his child, to develop in his own way as an adult. It doesn't mean he has to. Everybody can be in the same frame, but once you're in the same frame, how you paint the picture, what colors you put on, is your business, and that's how you develop your child's independent spirit. So that's a wonderful thing.
Also, what was the famous line from that movie? Seize the day.
Seize the day. Yeah, carpe diem.
Carpe diem.
Right.
Which is really what kids need in school. You need a motivator. You need somebody to help you take that next step outside of your box, so that you could really explore and discover things about yourself. That's growing up. That's maturing. That's evolving.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a great film.
There are so many other films about teachers, but the Dead Poet Society stands out because I think of Robin Williams, just visceral acting.
Right,
You know?
right.
He just he takes over the film, and he was just a great model of a person who just exudes energy and positive thinking.
Enthusiasm, yeah.
But the truth is, he's not a perfect teacher, because as a parent, I could say, what he says is nice, but if you take it too far,
Right.
that's very bad. So there has to be a certain sense of balance
Yeah.
between encouraging independent thinking and, on the other hand, trying to be
Everything in moderation.
right. Well, not everything.
Not everything, most things.
So I remember I had a teacher of mine, a rabbi. I went over to his house one evening. He invited us all over as students, and it was a picture on his mantelpiece of his sons in baseball uniforms. I never saw that before. When I went to Rabbi's house, the kids were in, normal clothes. Well, I thought were, normal rabbinic, clothes for a child of a rabbi. And I asked his son, who I met 30 years later, who happens to live in Israel, where I live, and I asked him, how come your father on the mantelpiece had your picture with a baseball hat? And he told me, my father wanted to keep us normal. Again, the idea of balance, the Maimonides, the Rambam, famous Jewish sage said the life that's appropriate is a life of balance, the golden mean.